Totally. So my name is Kylie Brown. I have been living in New York now for a couple of years, but I'm a Seattle girl through and through. Born and raised, went to the University of Washington, started working at Amazon. I've been at Amazon now for almost 7 years in the returns org the entire time. So I started answering phones for delivery drivers. And then I spent some time working on our liquidations program. I worked on our donations program. But for the last 2 years now, I have been the product lead for FBA Grade Resell, which is my favorite project that I've worked on because it's in the reuse, giving a second life space. I buy used on Amazon, so it's exciting to work in a space that I actually use. So most of the time, customers love what they buy, but every once in a while, as with any retailer, they have to make a return.
Sure.
So we're always trying to make that as convenient as possible for both customers and our selling partners. So what I work on, what my team works on in particular, is making that process as easy as possible for sellers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple of different programs that we run to help with that goal. The first one is going to be Returnless Resolutions, where in certain circumstances, customers can keep the item when they initiate a return, which helps sellers save on some of our removals fees. There's also FBA refurbishment, where we repackage items so that they can be resold. Next is FBA Grade Resell, which is what I focus on, where sellers can resell customer returns as used on Amazon.com. So we also have options like donations and liquidations, or if none of those options are appealing, sellers can have the items returned to them. For a majority of programs, you can enroll at an ASIN level, so we try and keep it as customizable as possible for sellers as well. There are a few key benefits that happen when sellers enroll in Grade Resell. The first one is going to be that we handle all of the operations of it. So we handle the return shipping, we handle the grading to understand if an item can be sold as used and what condition it might be sold in. So it really makes it easier for sellers because they don't have to do any of that operational burden. The second thing is that we do tend to see Grade Resell has a higher recovery than some of our other channels, so it does help with sellers' bottom line. And then finally, the third thing, and my personal favorite, is that it opens sellers up to a new customer base. There's a lot of customers that are really passionate about buying secondhand and deal hunting and providing a second life to products. And Grade Resell allows you to tap into that customer base that really cares about that secondhand space. Yeah, so outside of finding a second home for products and some of that added trust, it also will help you save on some of your removals fees. So things like your liquidations fee, your dispose fee, you won't have to pay because instead you're grading these things and selling them as used on Amazon. So that's the other major benefit is some of those end disposition fees. So when it comes to the inspections at our return centers, there's two different processes that happen. There's the initial grading where we check to see if the item can be just restocked because the item meets our high bar of being a new item. If the item can't be sold as new, that's when it goes to a secondary grading inspection that's more specialized, where they will plug the item in and do functional testing to ensure that it's still working. We'll measure damage on the packaging and on the product itself, make sure it's only aesthetic damage, and we'll look and see if we can assign a used condition to it. So there's 4 used conditions: like new, very good, good, and acceptable, that'll be assigned at this point as well. So this secondary grading piece, that is what Grade Resell is. The other thing that happens at secondary grading is we assign condition notes. So condition notes are customer-facing notes that tell customers a little bit more about why an item was graded into a used condition. We know that buying used tends to take a little bit more research for a customer to feel comfortable. So when a used condition is assigned, we'll add a note that just explains why we assigned that condition to it. For example, if a like new product is graded, the condition note might say comes in original packaging, item looks and functions like new. For a good condition item, it might say item does not come in original packaging, item has minor cosmetic damage and might impact usability, but does not impact usability. Oh, it never impacts usability. These notes just help set the right expectation for customers. That's a great question. Yes, there are definitely some items that'll do better through Grade Resell and some items that might do better through other e-commerce programs. An example of that would be low cost, low priced inventory, because we charge a grade and resell fee and standard FBA fees are charged, we just find that sellers aren't really making the net recovery they might be expecting on items that are lower priced. We've put in a safety net for that by making items that are less than $13 ineligible for the program. The actual benefit of grade and resell also really comes down to the type of product it is as well. We do find that some categories perform better, but there's really no blanket rule. So things like home decor, kitchen, electronics all tend to do really well. So I buy a lot of my kitchen goods used on Amazon. I have bought a blender and an Instant Pot. My Instant Pot has like a little dent on it, but I've had it for like 4 or 5 years, works perfectly. And for my blender, I couldn't even tell that it was used. So definitely. So returnless resolutions means that a customer will keep the item if they request a return. So if you participate in Fulfilled by Merchant or FBM, then you know that this option has actually been around for a while. So we're really excited that it's now eligible for FBA to enroll into as well. So the reason Returnless Resolutions works for lower priced items is because it helps you save on some of the fees that are getting charged during the customer returns process. So the customer returns fee that can be charged on apparel and shoes, the high return rate fee that can get charged if it meets the high return rate threshold, as well as any of our end disposition fees. So our liquidation fees, our return to seller fees, none of those fees will get charged because it never actually enters a return center. FBA Returnless Resolutions isn't available for everything, and it has to meet certain criteria, but it is really a great option for some of that low price inventory. So like my dad does a lot of woodworking, and so he buys screws all the time where you buy like 100 screws for like $7
Right.
or whatever it is. And he went to go return something because he bought the wrong size, which he does all the time, and actually ended up getting a returnless resolution. And he called me and he was like, "This is so great. This makes so much more sense. Like, I'm so annoyed when I have to return stuff this cheap." So customers do tend to really appreciate it. But you can also find more information about it on our help pages. Yeah, so Returnless Resolutions does have restrictions on customers, so not every order will be offered a returnless resolution. Refund requests processed are constantly monitored, and we do not unconditionally approve them. So like if my dad decided to buy 20 packs of screws all at the same time and return all 20, he wouldn't be able to, and I'm sure I'd get a call with him being annoyed about it. But we would block him from being able to make that returnless resolution because he's already gotten one and he knows about the process, that kind of thing. For Grade and Resell, we charge a fee when the item is listed. So an item can route to Grade and Resell, go through the secondary grading process we talked about, and if it doesn't meet our criteria, we won't charge you a fee for it. We only charge you a fee once it gets listed on Amazon.com in a used condition. So also, if it happens to get stranded at any point in that process, we won't charge a fee in that case either. In general, we have like a fee range between $150 and $410, and it's size and weight based. So for an item that's 16 ounces or less, that'll get charged $1.50. For an item that's oversized or over 151 pounds, that'll be charged $410. But you can also see the breakdown of our fee chart on our help page. If the item ends up not being sold and you create a removal for it, those removal fees will still get charged. Grade and Resell is currently available in 6 marketplaces. So any seller that's selling in the US, UK, France, Germany, Italy, or Spain is able to enroll in the program. So we don't have any seller-facing restrictions. However, we do have product restrictions, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Things like consumables, so food, supplements,
That makes
not
sense.
eligible.
Sure.
Things that are blocked for safety reasons, think baby toys, strollers, things like that,
Yeah.
where you can't really do the full testing, as well as things that just like aren't eligible to be sold on Amazon, or things that are hazmat wouldn't be eligible for the program. And we do that to protect the safety of not only our customers, but also our associates at the return centers that are doing the secondary grading. A good rule of thumb overall is if a seller can't create their own used listing for it, it's not eligible for Grade and Resell. Yeah, so we do try and keep things as simple as possible, but there are a couple of things that they should be keeping an eye on. So Once they go in and enroll, they'll start to see the listing show up in their manager inventory page. From that point, you can basically treat it like any other listing, but you should track the inventory age of it. You can adjust the pricing if you want to. You can create removal orders if you see that the inventory is dwelling and you don't want it to hit long-term storage fees. So those sorts of things should be tracked overall. And then when they do enroll, that's when they provide us price settings. So they provide us a price for each condition type, which would be the like new, very good, good, and acceptable, as a discount of new. So what that means is if, let's say, for example, a very good item comes through and they have set their very good percent of new at 80%, we would apply that 80% of the new price when we create the listing. So it's basically like the same as a 20% discount.
Yeah, okay, that's smart.
So, and they can also go in and update that setting at any time if they want to, or change the price at any time. So you'll go into your FBA settings and then your automated unfulfillable settings. That's where a good chunk of our program settings are. You can enroll in refurbishment, you can enroll in grade and resell liquidations, and then choose between dispose and return to seller. So for grade and resell, you'll go in, check yes, add your price settings, and then you can also choose to exclude ASINs if you'd like to at that point, and then you just hit save. And you can go in and update those price settings or exclude additional ASINs at any time. I would recommend being like intentional about the price discounts that you're inputting. We do provide some reporting resources. So there's a grade and resell report and then a grade and resell analytics page that can help you track your net recovery and how you're seeing the program work for you. And then I would use those to go in and make any updates and changes to prices. So just be intentional about your pricing. So sellers can reach out to selling partner support to get questions answered about grade and resell. If selling partner support can't answer a question for whatever reason, it'll actually get directed to my team. So cool. Especially because I used to really work in the weeds with customer support, I do like to dig into some of those details. So there's actually a really good chance it'll end up coming directly to me. At Amazon, we're always looking to improve and innovate to create better, more reliable experiences for sellers. So if a customer review does come in, which happens sometimes, we actually use that information to make our grading processes on the back end better. Grade and resell items also get the same standard customer service that any FBA item would get. We also use this feedback to help make our grading processes better and help sellers succeed overall. So you can learn more about our program on our help page. All of our programs have help pages in Seller Central that you can use. If you want to provide us feedback directly, you can also reach out to resellfba@amazon.com, and that comes directly to my team. And we're actually always looking for seller feedback. We want to make sure that we're building the right things and that we're actually solving the problems that sellers have. So definitely, if people have feedback, send it to me. In general, this year, I'm working on some pretty exciting improvements to the general management of grade and resell and in how you price and how you manage your listings. So definitely look out for those. We tend to announce through email, so sellers should be looking out for any grade and resell related emails.